I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Brian Wilson.
Joining us now on the line is Congressman Mike Rogers, Republican from Michigan. He happens to be the chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Congressman Rogers, good to have you with us this morning.
Ryan, always good to hear your voice.
All right, listen, there is a breaking story, and it comes from ABC News. Let me just read you the latest. It has to do with Al-Qaeda's affiliate in Yemen, which was behind the underwear bomb plot and the plot to take down cargo jets with devices built from printers. Sources now tell ABC News that the U.S. has intelligence that those Yemeni bomb makers are teaming with Al-Qaeda's offshoot in Syria, the Al-Nusra Front, to build a new generation of bombs that could be smuggled aboard U.S. or European passenger jets. As much as you can you tell us anything you might know about this?
Well, one thing for sure is that we have seen them try to continue to progress in their ability to produce bombs that could circumvent security at U.S. airports and all international airports, actually. And so we saw with the ink cartridge event a few years ago, their goal was to be able to use these ink cartridges, pack enough explosives in that would get through security to detonate a plane, likely overseas or when they changed pressure, which is bad, meaning they're either landing or taking off. And so what we know is that they're very committed to the next generation of bombs, which is why this Yemen piece of our counterterrorism strategy is so important. That's why the disruptive activity has happened there. That's why we need to be concerned about what's happening in eastern Syria. The Al-Nusra Front is operating in eastern Syria. They have some tensions between them and the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant, or ISIS, some call them. And so you've got all these odd connections going on, and now you have this new stream of threat stream that says, hey, we're getting ready to try to find this next iteration of technology that allows us to do something pretty faster.
Is there any intelligence that you're aware of that has specific threat information in it?
I would not be able to comment on specific threat information, but again, here's what we do know. They have been very aggressive about trying to find the next iteration of bomb that they can smuggle past security in U.S. airports. We've known that for years. That's why the disruption activity, you can only imagine. Even if we didn't have a direct stream, we do know that they're actively pursuing technology.
Our guest is Representative Mike Rogers from the Wolverine State. He's also the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. And let's keep talking about ISIS or ISIL, what have you. It looks as though the administration was caught flat-footed as these terrorists just rolled their way through Iraq and marching toward Baghdad. In fact, Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat of West Virginia, on Meet the Press said that our intelligence failed us miserably for not being aware of this threat. Is that true? You're the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. Is this really an intelligence failure, or did we know about these guys and we just didn't do anything?
We knew about them and didn't do anything. That's why those of us who were even 2.5 years ago saying if we don't deal with this problem in eastern Syria, we are going to have a bigger problem. It was a pooling of Al-Qaeda that we have never seen before. I mean, in the thousands. And they were attracting Westerners with passports from Europe and passports from the United States, which means they were getting trained, they were getting further radicalized, they were getting combat experience, and guess what? They had passports to come back to the United States, go back to Europe. And so we saw all of them pooling. We saw the camps go up. We saw the camps being operated. And so maybe they didn't say, hey, on Wednesday they're going to cross and go take Fallujah. But once they took Fallujah, it was very clear that they had military intentions. So we saw them train for it. We saw them prep for it. And the administration did absolutely nothing. When they crossed the border, they did nothing. When they took Fallujah, they did nothing. When they took Mosul, they did nothing. When they took Tikrit, they did nothing. And then when they knocked on Baghdad, they said, holy mackerel, there's this growing Al-Qaeda threat in the area of the Levant. Maybe we ought to think about this.
Is it possible now to get in and fix this problem? In other words, the bell has been rung. Can you unring it?
Well, we have to do something. You cannot have, even this ABC News threat, if you take it on face value, means that and they all are interconnected, and that's what we need to understand, that they are working in an area where they have safe haven, eastern Syria, and they believe that they could develop it, even if you just take that article at face value. So, and again, we do know that they cross-pollinate on technologies, IED, and other things for bad events to happen. So now you've got this really bad problem. You've got to do something to start to dismantle this growing Al Qaeda army. Now they don't. They have heavy weapons. There's talk that they have 2 helicopters. They have heavy vehicles. This in a safe haven that's about the size of Indiana. That is what we all ought to be concerned about.
The latest information out of Iraq is that these jihadists have apparently taken control of an oil refinery. Is this one of the things you fear, is that once they get a hold of the oil, they get a hold of wealth, and now not only do they have bad intentions, but they're well-financed?
Absolutely. And the scary part of this is that we think they have as much as $1 billion in both cash and bullion already, and now they have the ability, and they don't have to sell it in the open market. People say, oh, we'll just shut off the open market. They won't be able to sell that oil. Well, the problem is the black market oil there, they don't have to sell a lot of it. They're not in the business of, they're not worried about shareholders. They're not worried about next quarter's profits. They're just worried about putting some money in the bank to continue their operation. They can do that on the black market oil sales, even in the region, and do pretty darn well for themselves. So it's a stable funding source for their activities. And here's something else we should worry about. So now they've taken all the border points, including on Jordan, on the Jordanian border, Iraq and Jordan, and they believe that Jordan should be part of their caliphate, and they're holding land, and there's really nothing that has been disruptive to their march. And that puts Lebanon at risk. It puts Jordan at risk. Yes, puts Israel at risk. And that's why this is so significant, and we've got to figure out a way to disrupt their ability to keep on the march.
Instability in the entire region, not in national security interest. Well, listen, Congressman Mike Rogers, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.